Hi, my name's Carole Scannell. I'm a 4th grade teacher at St. Germain School. I've been teaching there for 12 years. I'm being interviewed by Tom Lydon, who's a phenomenal person, about teaching agriculture to children in suburban schools. It's a program called Ag in the Classroom, and it was presented to me by a 4th grade teacher who said, "This is all new. If you want to do it, do it." And it was the biggest blessing of my life. My mom was a teacher in the Chicago Public Schools for many, many years, and as she had children, she would substitute so she could be home for us. My dad was an attorney in the neighborhood. He had a small little office, and as you find out later on in life after they're gone, how many people they helped. My mom thought that, and my dad thought that education was very, very important. We just all took it for granted that you would go to college and you'd get a job, and as it turned out, a lot of my siblings have also gone into teaching as well. My sister Mary Donna teaches at St. John Fisher. My sister Rosie taught at numerous high schools. My sister Lori works for the Chicago Public School. So education's important. Being able to see that light go on in a child's face is something amazing. And
I'm sorry, your parents' names?
Carol Finn and Don Finn. There were 7 of us, my 2 brothers and 5 sisters, myself included. And so education was really, really important. Going into teaching was just something I never even thought of it. I mean, my mom was a teacher, so I was going to be a teacher. My older sisters were teachers. It was just something that I thought everybody did.
So, okay, so for at a very early age, you knew or
I knew.
You knew.
I absolutely knew. At Mother Macaulay, where I went to high school, they had the Macaulay Little School, and Sister Pat Illing, who was lovely, gave Amy Gleason and I an opportunity to start a summer program there with the preschool. And it was just something that I knew I loved and that I always wanted to do. And even going out and trying to find a job, the first question they ask you is, "Why do you want to do this?" And I look at them, "That's what I've always wanted to do. No question. I'm going to be a teacher."
That's fantastic. I mean, most of us have or still struggle to find our place in the world in terms of a career, but
yeah.
That's wonderful. And how about before your mom? Were any other family members do you know of?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
But, and then you have the great teachers at St. Barnabas that we had that were your, "Oh, I want to be like her." You know, Mrs. Reardon, who was awesome. Mrs. Miller, who was awesome. So you see those influences early on in life and think, "I want to be like them." And so that's what I did.
Fantastic.
I went to St. Mary's of Winona in beautiful Winona, Minnesota. Met fabulous people up there. People used to make fun of all the teachers who were training because we'd spend our nights coloring and creating crafts, and they'd be studying for biology finals. And it was just nice to know that there were other people from all different parts of the world that liked doing what you do as much as you do. So that was fun. So 4 years of college there. You had to do your student teaching up there, so we were sent to tiny little schools. Winona, Minnesota is a little teeny town, and a lot of the kids came from farms. And they'd come in to school with their boots on and smelling like a farm, and I'd think, "Ooh, this is so weird," not knowing that it would turn 360 and end up being something that I absolutely adore.
I'm glad you touched on that because we do want to go into this later in our conversation, but would you say that was the, to use the term, the seed that planted your interest, or did it happen then? Or
No, I don't even think it happened then. I thought it was really weird that kids would live on a farm and then come to school.
Being a city girl.
Right, exactly. Being from St. Barnabas, and
Chicago.
Nobody did that. But they were darling. And now you see, well, I see, as I've been able to go around to different parts of the state of Illinois and see how important it is to bring agriculture into the classroom, because kids don't know. where their food comes from. And it's real important, and we get it out there. My first year of teaching was at St. Walter's, which was a teeny tiny little school on Western Avenue. It was one hallway. There was one classroom for each grade, which was so different from St. Barnabas, because when we went to Barnabas, there were 4 classrooms for each grade. There were a zillion people, and St. Walter's was really tiny. So I got 5th grade and taught there for 2 years, but then the enrollment shrunk and there wasn't enough kids to do a whole 5th grade. So I got riffed, and they put the 4th and the 5th grade together. And then I was lucky enough to land a job at St. Bernadette's, which was a little bit bigger. There was 2 classrooms. Once again, I got 5th grade. And then I started having my babies. So I stayed home for 15 years to raise my own children, and then went back to teaching when my youngest was in kindergarten. Have a great family. My husband Tom is an attorney in Beverly. He's got his own company, his own group of people, wonderful lawyers that work with him. We're lucky enough to have 5 great kids. Maggie is a special ed teacher working at the Most Holy Redeemer. Joe is working in Washington, D.C. at a public relations firm. Mary Carol works in Cincinnati with the foster care system. Rosie is getting ready to start her college career in beautiful Denver, Colorado. And the last one, Billy, is going to be a senior at St. Ignatius. And that's the whole crew.
So it sounds like all have gone to college?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the last one hasn't yet, but
Right.
he has no choice. Yeah, you have to. You have to have an education and able to get a job and to go out into the world and see what you want to do and feel out what you think is important to you. So we've been very lucky that all of our kids have not put up a fight yet. Absolutely.
Okay, so what year did you start back as an educator in the school system, and where? And
So in my quest to go back, I figured Billy's in kindergarten. He'll be in school all day long. I had been watching all my friends' kids during this time. So I had a little daycare in my basement. So I just sent my resumes out, and Kevin Reedy, who was at St. Bernadette as the DRE, was now the principal at St. Germain. And he said, come aboard.
DRE?
Director of Religious Education.
Okay.
But now he was the principal. So he hired me for 2nd grade at St. Germain. And I bounced around to different grade levels at St. Germain. I did 2nd, and then I did 1st, and then I did kindergarten, and then I did 1st again. And the year I was offered 4th grade, the other 4th grade teacher introduced me to the Ag in the Classroom program, which started this whole spin.
Awesome. Yeah.
So it's a program that the Cook County Farm Bureau runs. It's all non-for-profit. And they have presenters come to your classroom twice a year, in the fall and in the spring, and present Illinois agriculture. Kids don't know what it is. Kids don't know what agriculture means. And Mrs. Dunn, who I've had in my classroom, is wonderful. And she comes with her whole suitcase full of ideas to explain to the children how important Illinois is in agriculture. I mean, besides here we are sitting in a beautiful field of corn, Illinois has an abundance of corn. Illinois has an abundance of soybean, and kids don't know that. Kids don't know where their food comes from. So this is a little peek into that whole world. Then the Cook County Farm Bureau has all these opportunities after school for teachers to come to little mini sessions, and they teach you about everything. They give you all the supplies. Everything's free. And you go back to your classroom with all these fun ideas that you can incorporate into science or into social studies. My social studies is Illinois. Illinois is infused into each of the lessons. So to bring all this in, my principal thought I was crazy for a couple times, because he would walk in and I would be making pumpkin pie in a bag, and these kids are going crazy. But it's something everyone has at Thanksgiving, and I wanted to teach them how they could make it by themselves in the classroom using Ziploc bags And it's a blast, and the kids love it, and the stories that go along with it are phenomenal. And the Cook County Farm Bureau gives it all to you. I've been trying to tell teachers for years about this program, and I don't know whether they just are too busy doing what they're doing, but it's the most phenomenal program in the world. Then you get involved with the Illinois Farm Bureau. So the Illinois Farm Bureau is based in Springfield, and they're just as wonderful, and they have conferences every year that I was lucky enough to get invited to go to, and it's just wonderful people doing everything they can to give you the resources to teach these kids in a fun way.
Okay, and do you actually grow crops like tomatoes or?
I do not. We
Okay.
start with a small planter in my classroom, and we grow herbs sometimes. Some years are better than others. But this Ag in the Classroom program hooks you up with farmers from Central Illinois.
Okay.
So that's where the beauty of this whole thing began. I got hooked up with the most phenomenal farmers from Fulton County, which is just west of Champaign. And Mrs. Elaine Stone, God love her, she's the greatest lady on the earth. And she got farmers from around the neighborhood to send pictures to my students about their farms. There were different farms, some were corn, some were animals, some were all about the equipment, and they would send letters, and my kids would send a million questions back, and they would send more activities for my kids to do, making apple chains during the fall when it's apple season, the pumpkin pie in the bag. When it's pumpkin season, they come in December, my Fulton County friends, and present to my kids because they're here for their big convention. The old ladies from the auxiliary club come and make homemade ice cream with my kids. One year they brought the new baby lambs to my classroom. I mean, stuff that these kids will never in a million years ever get to experience. And one year they said, would you ever come down? We'll send you the bus. Bring your fourth graders, bring their parents. So I presented it to my principal, who said, you're crazy. I said, can I do it? And he said, sure. And that's what started the history. So every year, the last week of May, I take all the fourth graders and whichever parents can fit on board the bus, and we travel. It's 3.5 hours. And Fulton County puts out a spread that you cannot believe. They have a barbecue ready for us. We go to 3 different farms. These farmers have sent us all their information during the year, so my kids get to know them through pictures, and then we get to go meet them. I mean, we've been to, this year we went to the bidding pit where all the cattle is sold, and my kids got the bidding paddles, and they did it just for my kids because it was a day that they don't usually have the auction, and brought in the baby calves and how much they weigh and how much per pound. And I mean, it was phenomenal. We've been taken to the airstrip so that they can see the planes that do the crop dusting. We've gone to, one of my farmers lets the kids climb all over his $500,000 equipment, just so, because the kids don't. I have the replicas in my classroom of all the John Deere tractors, but to actually get up and sit on it, I mean, it's phenomenal. And the parents have 8 million questions as well, because they've never seen this. We've gone out into the middle of the fields with 1,500-pound cattle, and they're looking at us and we're looking at them. It's just an opportunity that kids would never in a million years get, and it's all because of the Ag in the Classroom program, and it's phenomenal.
What are there any working farms in Chicago that you know of?
There are quite a few. People don't know about them because they're hidden, but another great resource for people in our neighborhood is the Ag School. So I just got finished with my farm camp at the Ag School, and that's another thing that the Cook County Farm Bureau runs for kids in the neighborhood. It's called Passports to the Farm, and it offers 4 days of absolute fun for kids to come to the Ag School, and the Ag kids that are there help present these programs. They go to different stations to learn about the horses and the pigs and the cows and the corn. It's amazing, but the ag school is one of the pieces of property that's a working farm.
And last year you won Teacher of the Year award. Is that correct?
I did. The lovely people at the Cook County Farm Bureau nominated me, and the people at the Illinois Farm Bureau, and they put in cahoots, and you have to write a paper and you have to present stuff, and I was fortunate enough to have been chosen as Illinois' delegate for the Ag in the Classroom program. But I couldn't have done it without the Cook County Farm Bureau. It couldn't have done it without the people in Fulton County. Couldn't have done it without the people in the Illinois Farm Bureau. They all work together to give me the resources to present this to the kids in my classroom. I've done nothing heroic except use all their fun ideas, all their phenomenal books to teach kids about where their food comes from.
I understand that, but I mean, you were within you saw the importance, and you were the one that really took it to the next level with your class. And what was that experience like?
Overwhelming. I mean, they just appeared in my classroom one day.
And when was this, please?
In October last year.
Okay.
There was a knock at my door. I was getting ready to give a math test, and my principal knocked on the door and said, "You have visitors." And I thought, uh-oh. And in popped the gals from the Cook County Farm Bureau, Kevin Doherty, who runs the Illinois Farm Bureau, Ag in the Classroom from Springfield, and they all came in with balloons and reporters from the Beverly Review, and it's overwhelming because you have no idea they're coming. My kids in my classroom went crazy because they had cookies. It was a blast. So then in December there was a big, the Farm Bureau has their big convention in Chicago. So I got to go to the Palmer House and stay, and they had a big awards meeting that night presenting all the farmers from Illinois with all their different programs that they did. And then you get to compete for the national title, and that was held in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona at the end of June when it was 128 in the shade. So that was fun too. So it's been a wild ride, definitely.
Carole, that's fantastic, and it's nice to see someone like yourself rewarded for all of your hard work.
But it's not hard work, it's a blast. It's so much fun. Kids can read stuff in books and but when you're presenting and they're making something with their hands and you're reading them a funny story and they're learning about kids who are the exact same age as they are, who live on a farm, who have to do all their chores before they go to school. Their school's one house with different age levels, very different from ours. To see the kids realize, well, he's exactly the same as me, in the literacy that you can open their eyes to. There's so many fun books out there. So it's a blast.
Has education changed or since when you first began? And if so, in what ways?
It's very, very different from when I started. Even in the 15 years that I was home, things changed dramatically. They're trying to push 21st century learning, so they want everyone, because they know what kids have coming after they leave grammar school, that our whole world is high-tech. So they're trying to bring all of that technology into the school, but some schools don't have the money. If you're lucky enough to have what it takes, I noticed it first with the high schoolers. The high schoolers all went to the iPads, and instead of lugging around those big, huge, heavy books that we had to, they put the iPad in their backpack and that was it, and everything's online. And the kids have all grown up with this technology, unlike you and I, who did not. That's very, very different. The push for all the testing is very, very different. I'm sure it's much worse in the Chicago public schools because they have to test all the time. Catholic schools, we do it a couple times a year and they kind of leave us alone. That's very, very different. The pressure these kids have to do well is unbelievable. We grew up just being kids. I mean, we never thought twice about anything. We played outside, we did our homework, we went to school, we went to college. Now, the pressure to get into the schools that these kids want to is unbelievable. But they have the advantage of the 21st century technology that we didn't have. But I wouldn't change our growing up for anything. We had a good life. One of the other great things that the Cook County Farm Bureau does is they take you on these wonderful adventures, field trips for teachers, where you can go to the different farms in the neighborhood and see what they're doing, and the greenhouses that grow just the mushrooms, the orchards that start with the saplings in the greenhouses and how they become these beautiful trees. In Arizona, when we were there for the national conference, just the orange trees growing in the middle of the street, stuff that you would never ever imagine. We don't have it here. We were taken out to the middle of the desert to see how they grow pecan trees. I mean, it's just amazing, but you have to get your facts. You have to go to the people that know what they're talking about, because it's a lot of money and you want to invest wisely. Teachers can't do what they do without the wonderful volunteers. The Cook County Farm Bureau, Diane Marion runs that. She's phenomenal. The Fulton County Farm Bureau, Elaine Stone runs that. Kevin Doherty runs the Illinois Egg in the Classroom. These are the people that plant the seeds in the teachers' minds. And there's so many fun things you can do with it, but you just have to take that first step. I never knew when I said, okay, I'll write to these people, that it would turn into 6 years of fabulous memories for my students' parents, because each year we bring a new group down, and it's fun. It's something that they would never in a million years have gotten to do unless you're into agriculture. But because of this Egg in the Classroom program, my kids got to do it. And I was lucky enough to be the leader and bring them down. So it's fun.
Well, Carole, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations once again on the Teachers Award. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom Biden, for doing this. It was great.